sturdy women. Hi, sturdy friends. I hope you're having a good week. I hope you're feeling good in your body. Today, I want to talk about stress. It's something I've had a lot of experience with over the past year. I know it's something you have a lot of questions about. What does stress mean for those of us with lipedema, lymphedema, and other chronic conditions? Of course, we all hear all the time chronic stress is bad for everyone, but does it mean something different for us? And what are some strategies that we can use to reduce it in our lives? I'm going to kind of share some of my experience and resources with you today. But before I do that, I want to say a huge welcome to all of our new subscribers. We're so happy to have you in our community. If you haven't subscribed yet, go ahead, just click subscribe below and then click the little bell and you'll get a notification each time I post a new Sturdy Women video. And then if today's content or anything else on the channel is helpful to you, please do like and share so that we can reach more people and give them hope and help on their journey. Okay, so those of you who have subscribed for a while, it's no surprise to you that I have had some stress over the past year, right? I even had to take a few months off from posting videos because I just really needed to get my own self-care and my own life kind of back in balance. My job was, I was working too many hours. I was traveling a lot. I wasn't hitting it off with my boss and getting the support I needed. And I had some stuff going on in my personal life that was really stressful. I gained about a dress size for no real reason. I was still exercising. I was still fasting. I hadn't started eating carbs. I was still doing my strict keto. But it just snuck up on me and my compression started to feel too small. My jeans were hard to get on. And my hair started falling out. My hairdresser said, hey, like, are you having some stress? Like, you're starting to get some bald spots up here. And all of that was really a wake-up call for me. I already knew I wasn't feeling good. Like, I could feel it in my body, but that really scared me, to be honest with you. And I reached out to a nutritionist who specializes in lipedema and said, hey, like, I need help. I'm doing everything that has always worked before and it's not working anymore. And we talked for a little bit. I explained everything that was going on. And she said, like, you're not doing anything wrong. You just have too much stress. She said, stress can absolutely do this to you. That was a huge wake-up call for me. I mean, of course, I already knew I didn't feel good. I knew my life felt out of balance, but that to me was really like, okay, like, you have to do something about this. You've invested so much in your health. Are you really going to let it all slip away now because of all these external pressures from other people, or are you going to rise to the challenge and put yourself first? And that really ties into what I learned in a book that I read a couple months ago called When the Body Says No by Gabor Maté. And I know some of you are like, Rebekah, you're always talking about books. How do you have time for that? Well, you also probably know I'm a huge fan of Audible. I listen to things as audiobooks while I'm cooking, while I'm exercising, while I'm doing other things. And this is one that I really just like binged while I was cooking and doing my other things. To take care of my self-care. But what he really emphasizes in this book is the science behind stress and what it does for chronic disease and kind of the mind-body connection in our health. So he identifies 3 factors that really lead to stress: uncertainty, lack of information, and loss of control. Do you have any of those with your lipedema or lymphedema, right? Check, 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 check. Uncertainty, like, we don't know what's going to happen with our body. We don't know how things are going to go. Lack of information. No one can tell us about this disease that we now have and what to do about it. Loss of control, like, what's going to happen with our body. Like, we can't, everyone says like diet and exercise. Oh, wait, it doesn't work, right? Cut calories, blah, 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 blah. Yeah, right. So ding, 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 like uncertainty, lack of information, loss of control. Not only did I have that like in the larger part of my life, but we all have that to some degree with our diagnosis, right? What stress does. So those are kind of things that cause stress, right? And to me, that was empowering. I wrote that down and I was like, okay, in a situation where I'm feeling stressed, what can I do that might give me some certainty, might give me some information, might make me feel a sense of control, right? So knowing that in a stressful situation, those are the things that you're lacking, how can you find a way to inject those back in? That was really helpful for me. But what does stress do, right? So once it's going on, what does it do in our bodies? Well, it affects like 3 really key systems that we also think about with lipedema and lymphedema. That's your hormones. So in particular, stress is going to impact your adrenals, your digestion. It's going to impact your intestinal lining, and then your immune system. So your spleen, your thymus, and wait for it, your lymph glands. There was a study done with rats where when the rats were exposed to stress, they actually had shrunken lymphatic organs. Well, with lipedema and lymphedema, we're so concerned with keeping the lymphatics healthy and moving and all of that. Well, stress actively works against whatever you might be doing for your self-care. And I very acutely felt that and noticed that last year. My body just stopped working as well as it had before. My symptoms started to come back, right? Something else that Dr. Maté describes in the book, which really hit me hard. Of course, he doesn't talk specifically about lipedema or lymphedema in the book, but he talks about a number of other chronic illnesses. And in particular, he talks about something referred to as the ALS personality type. And this was really spooky to me. They described these personality characteristics that seemed to show up really frequently in patients who had ALS, to the point where the medical technicians and staff who would do the diagnostic testing, even before they saw the results, they would say things like, oh, so-and-so, there's no way they could have ALS. They're not a nice enough person. And then they were very, very frequently correct. This spooked me because a lot of the personality characteristics resonated with me. And also I was on a webinar a couple years ago with a doctor who treats lipedema patients. And he said, my staff, me, everyone in the office, we just really love the lipedema patients. We love when they come in. They are just so nice. They're the nicest people that we ever have come in the office. Well, that is the same thing that they were saying about the ALS patients. And the characteristics kind of identified as seeming to run across, at least for ALS patients, and I feel like a lot of them show up for me as someone with chronic illness, are repression of anger and negative feelings. So not vocalizing negative emotions that you think might upset other people, being a people pleaser, not saying no to things when maybe you should, doing things when you don't want to because you want to make other people happy. And then a strong feeling of duty, role, or responsibility to other people. A lot of that has to do with putting other people first, putting other people's needs before your needs, right? And that to me, I don't know. I felt like it gave me something to work on, and I went to my therapist the next week and said, like, I'm concerned about this, and I really want to work on having better boundaries and expressing myself to both take care of the chronic illness I have right now and maybe guard against more developing in the future. So something that I wrote down from the book that really struck me is when you don't express boundaries emotionally, you suppress boundaries immunologically. So the function of your immune system, right, which your lymphatic system is part of, the function of that is to protect your body, right? It's a boundary that pushes out bad things. Well, the thinking is kind of when we don't do that emotionally, when we kind of suck up and take in too much negative emotion, we don't have appropriate boundaries with other people and other things in our life, at a certain point, our body literally says no and shuts down and says, like, if you're not gonna have this boundary, like, I'm like, we're not, I'm gonna get your attention however I can, right? So for me, that's something that was very helpful. I really recommend checking out When the Body Says No by Dr. Gabor Maté, and it really walks through kind of the science behind stress, what it does to our bodies. Of course, stress also increases inflammation, and that's something that with lipedema and lymphedema, we're always guarding against. What's your experience been with stress? Have you noticed that stress makes your lipedema worse? I've anecdotally heard of women saying, after a really stressful event in my life, my lipedema got worse. I had a near-death experience, near-death illness. Mine got worse after that. Certainly that would have been a stressful situation. Please share your experience down below, and then anything else that you've learned that's helped you manage your stress and stay healthy and well. For more about me and my journey with lipedema, lymphedema, and venous insufficiency, you can head over to sturdywoman.com. I'd love to see you there. Mwah. I'll see you next time.